Welcome back to the MCP cast. Of course, I am Travis MCP, and I want to thank you for joining me, whether you're watching on Spotify or listening on any other podcast platform or watching me on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a YouTuber and why it's the best, worst job I've ever had. I'm going to go over a lot of things, probably not going to go in order. I'm probably going to be all over the place with this, but again, it's my podcast where I can just kind of talk freely, so hopefully you'll hang with me, and I promise I'll get to the points that I want to get to. I started on YouTube back in 2018, just as a thing to get back into content creation. I actually used to have a podcast many years ago, back in like 2009 or something. I had several podcasts actually, and I had various amounts of success with each of them. Happy with the success I had with each of them, and they covered various topics. So it's not like I had never done any type of content creation before. I took a long period of time off between the end of my last podcast and then, of course, the beginning of this channel. I started this channel because I actually wanted to bring back that podcast. And ironically, after going through all this content creation for years, I'm doing a podcast at the end of it. I actually thought I wouldn't do podcasts anymore, but here I am. So in 2018, I did it as kind of a creative, almost challenge to myself. I've told the story many times before. I'm not going to kind of regurgitate it here, but I challenged myself to get on YouTube and see if I can get 10,000 subscribers in the first year. I was able to get 20,000, which is very hard to do on this platform. Not as hard with YouTube Shorts being a thing now. It did not exist when I started, but certainly something to be proud of. But I didn't think that it would be like my full-time gig. I really wanted it to be, but I wasn't sure if it would be, because at the time in 2018, I had been working I had a corporate job making six figures. I was good. But much like they say about almost any job that you have, you don't quit your job, you quit your manager. That's exactly what happened. Towards the end of my tenure there, I had a really terrible manager that just made me hate life. And it just so happened that I got an opportunity to, in my second year on YouTube in 2019, to kind of jump from that into the world of just content creation all the time. And, in fairness, it wasn't because of my channel. My channel wasn't big enough to be able to sustain, the income I needed. So I was taking a job in other aspects of content creation, including YouTube coaching. So coaching other creators. And this is kind of a mind flip, right? If you think about this for a second. I've been doing YouTube for a year, but you have to understand, when I get really into something, I hyper focus on it and I try to learn every single thing I could. So while it would take me about an hour or so to get to and from work every day, an hour to and an hour from, plus I'd be at work for like 8 or 9 hours, I would still come home and try to study everything about how to grow on YouTube. And even on my lunch breaks at work, I would study how to grow on YouTube. So I actually had a lot of YouTube knowledge at the end of my first year. So I ended up being a YouTube coach in my second year, which is kind of hilarious because I was coaching channels larger than me to take their channel to the next level. Now I've done it for so long, I can do it with my eyes closed. I'm actually really good at it. And I've helped some of the biggest channels on YouTube grow their stuff even more, and even take smaller channels and help grow those channels. I've done a lot of that, which is great. I'm really proud of it. I had a lot of fun doing it. But I'm back to content creation again, and now on my channel, taking something that evolved from what was working to what I want it to be. And that's kind of where I am in this moment. When you jump on YouTube, I think there's a couple of misconceptions by people who don't content create. I think a lot of people think it's easy. Certain aspects of content creation is easy, sure. Certain aspects are. A lot of it is not, though. I'm just going to be honest. A lot of it is actually terribly difficult. But it's not like as difficult as if you have, if you're in mines and you're like coal mining or something, okay, you have a harder job. If you're building rocket ships, I suppose your job is harder. But there's a different type of, difficulty with content creation because there's so many aspects of it that just aren't normal. And I'm going to go through all those for people who don't know and don't understand that, like, this is not an easy job. It can be a really fun job. It also can be a terrible job that just absolutely stresses you out. I remember when I used to just watch YouTube and I wasn't a content creator at all, I would hear content creators talk about this sort of stuff. YouTubers talk about this stuff, and I would think, what the hell are they talking about, bro? Like, I have to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning, drive all the way into Seattle, listen to my boss yell at me all day, drive all the way back in the worst traffic possible, and then come home and then try to learn this crap. And you're so talking about, you just woke up at 3 p.m. to make this video, and you're talking about how hard your life is. And I listen, I get it. I understand from the other side of the lens what that sounds like. But the reality is quite interesting because as a content creator, you have to deal with things that you do not have to deal with as a normal human being. So, for example, let me give you a small example before I kind of go back. Again, I'm going to be jumping all over the place here, so please stay with me. As a normal human being on this earth at this point, it's very likely that your private information has been leaked. There have been so many hacks in the world, and the largest companies have been hacked, that your information is probably out there. It's probably out there on the dark web and stuff. I'm not saying this to scare you. It's just a fact. Like, don't worry about if someone has hacked you or has your identity. They already do. It's almost assuredly so. The chances of your information not being out there on the internet for everyone to see is almost none, especially if you're watching this video. I'm positive it's out there. But because there's so many people's information out there that's leaked, yours is kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. There's targets for people to take that actually would make more sense for a scammer to either steal their identity or try to get their money or whatever, which would be someone like a content creator, because now your head is above the sea of normalcy. Like, people are looking at you and maybe you make more money and now you're a target. Imagine if you're a target even without those leaks, even without the data breaches in all these companies. People are just constantly targeting you. That's another aspect of this. Friends of mine have been swatted. If you don't know what swatting is, it's a terrible thing. It's when some random person on the internet calls the police and tells them that some type of event is happening at your house, and they bring a SWAT team to your house because they think something terrible is happening. Take you out, arrest you, put guns, come in, do all these crazy things. Like, it's intense what can happen to content creators and influencers. And that's just something you don't generally have to deal with as a normal, everyday, average person. So I think there are certain things like that put the difficulty of balancing, this lifestyle along with, whatever your normal life is, into a different context. So I think that alone makes it harder. I'll tell you some other things that make it a little bit harder. And again, all these things balance out in the end. I literally don't have to get up at very early in the morning to drive anywhere. I barely leave my house. Talked about this on my last podcast episode. I rarely leave my house. My office is this room, which is just two rooms over from my bedroom. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I get to work from home. Although that's not completely uncommon anymore for a lot of people. So yeah, there are benefits to it, 100%. I would never deny that. And I make money by making videos, which is also not that bad. But let me talk to you about some of the other things. Again, it's a great job. And I think I'm not going to point out so many of the great things, because I think you can probably imagine what some of them are. You get to go places. Sponsor deals can be really fun. You get to work with brands that maybe you've purchased before or services you've used before. You get them for free. Sometimes they fly you places. Money can be great. Like, all that stuff is cool. But let me tell you about the stuff that ain't cool. And this is why, while yes, simultaneously, it's a great job. You get to meet people, do things. It's really great. There's a whole other side of it that people don't know or don't think about. Here's one side that I certainly wasn't thinking about at the time. Taxes. Like, almost everything you get paid as an online content creator is not taxed. So you have to, like, hold that aside for the end of the year. And I'll tell you, the 1040 EZ ain't a thing for me anymore. It's too complicated. I have to pay someone to do my taxes at this point. And you might be like, boo-hoo, pay so much. Bro, it's not cheap. That's the other thing. It's not cheap to hit these people. I think I pay like $1,000 to do my taxes every year. I probably don't even need to do that anymore, because I don't think mine are as complicated as they used to be. But when you're getting money from all these different places, the last thing you want is the IRS coming up your butt going, hey, you didn't pay us the way you should have paid us. So that's an additional stress. You have to create an LLC, really, a limited liability corporation, to make sure that people just don't randomly sue you, because people on the internet can be assholes. And that's the thing. You can just randomly be sued for no good apparent reason. So you need an LLC to protect yourself. That was one of the first things I did. You need to use platforms like LifeLock or Delete Me to get your information off the internet and to make sure that people aren't stealing your identity, which is what I talked about before. Not an expensive thing, but something that you don't normally think about. And in the middle of your content creation, this is something that I learned kind of late in my content creation journey, you have to be really careful what you share. And this maybe should be obvious to some of you, and it's probably more obvious to people who watch content more often than others. But even the most simple and seemingly innocuous thing can be taken to the nth degree. Let me give you an example of how that happened to me. So I remember taking my dog Nathan out. Rest in peace, Nathan. I miss you very much. And I was walking him somewhere, and I took a photo of I remember I took a photo of the inside of a store or something, but I guess there was a reflection of me and Nathan, and the angle in which the reflection looked, there was some type of weird thing about it. I posted on Twitter. I hadn't think anything about it. I was thinking about the image of the inside the store. And of course, all my content creator friends started bagging on me because of this. And I don't exactly remember the details other than I know John Prosser from Front Page Tech was making fun of me. Something about the reflection in the mirror made me look like I don't think I had pants on or something, which is obviously not true, but something like that. And you're like, oh, come on, bro. Like, I'm trying to show you this other thing and you're nitpicking. And so from that point forward, I started being a little bit more careful about what type of pictures I posted. And then I found out that there's another level to this. So I posted a picture one time of Nathan, took a picture of him. He had his dog tag on, and I'm so in love with Nathan. And I miss him greatly. I think half of my camera roll on my phone still is just pictures of him. And within 2 minutes, someone messaged me on Twitter and said, you probably want to take that down. Your address is showing on his collar. Because that if you have a dog or a pet, you usually have a collar that has the address. If found, call this number or whatever. My phone number and the address are on there. And it was it wasn't even a close-up of Nathan. He was laying far away. You actually had to zoom into the picture, into his collar to look for that. And it was at that moment, I was thankful to the person who told me. But it was in that moment that I'm like, geez, you can't even do the job you're trying to do without being super on top of everything. So when I would shoot outdoor content, which wasn't all that often, but when I would try to be real careful to not have street signs showing and nothing super identifiable. And it's just holy crap, why do I have to do all these extra things? And again, some of you might be listening going, oh, where you have to take pictures in a very specific. I don't think you understand that as you start to add these things up, they become greater than the sum of their parts. It's not just, oh, you have to take pictures specifically. It's people are trying to dox you at all times. People are trying to, get clout off of you. All these different things. As they add up, it becomes more than what you could ever imagine. Again, I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. I like that. Can we get a shirt that says that? I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. The whole point of this video is to let people know what it's like to be on this side of the camera. And I don't know if you've seen this, but there's been a couple of surveys of kids, what they want to be when they grow up. And for male kids, the number 2 thing, only 1% off. Number 1 at 12% was a professional sports athlete, which I think has been the same since I've been a kid. Number 2 was a YouTuber or streamer. This is the thing. So it's not something that's just a fringe thing. There's more and more people that are joining the content creation space and making good money on it, but not realizing what they're getting into. Here's another aspect of it that's a lot of people don't talk about, but is very real. So firstly of all, when you're first starting out, unless you're independently wealthy or in a situation where you can live at home or whatever with your parents or something, you're doing this at the same time you're doing your normal job. And it can take, projects, videos and stuff can take hours upon hours to actually produce and get ready for YouTube. And you're at the beginning not getting paid for that. And again, while most people will say, well, yeah, but you're just making videos, it does take time. And the one thing that I say about life, which I think is super critical, is of all the currencies that we deal with on a daily basis, time is the most valuable because you can't make more of it. You can make more money, you ain't making more time. So that bit of time that you're putting into these projects, you're never getting back. It's a sunk investment. Now, someday, if you do enough to get yourself to the next level, you can definitely make money and good money. But at the beginning, you're not making any. You're just doing a thing. Hopefully it's a great hobby like it was for me, and you're having fun doing it. Now, when you get to the point where you're actually starting to make money, this is where it gets interesting, because a lot of people don't understand that just because you get a certain amount of views does not mean you get a certain amount of money at all. That's not how it works. there are different ways that you can make money on YouTube. One of those is by AdSense, which is the ads that play in front of your video. But depending on what type of content you cover, the amount of money you make per 1,000 views, because that's what it is, can range wildly between a couple of cents per 1,000 views to like a couple $100 per 1,000 views. This is per 1,000 views. I don't know if it's 100 views. So I think it's really important to understand that depending on what the content creator is doing, they're either making a lot of money or no money from that. Now, there's other things like affiliates, links like I have in the description where you can buy certain things. There's also ways to make money with sponsor deals, which is like the ads you get in the middle and front of videos. So there's all that, right? There's all these different cool ways to make money. But I'm going to let you know that every month, especially in January, it's terrible. Like you make no money anywhere. Imagine for a moment that I'm going to try to make it as easy to understand as possible. That you go to your job that you've been going to for many years. You enjoy it. You love it. And they pay you a fair wage, right? Imagine you sit down one day, you come into work, your boss says, let me sit you down for a minute. This week, I'm going to need you to work an extra 20 hours. But here's the thing, I'm not going to pay you any more money than what you already make. But I need you to work an extra 20 hours as hard as you do for the first 40. What would you say to that boss? In some cities and countries and stuff, that's just straight up illegal. Like you can't even get away with that. If you're a salaried employee, I mean, maybe you've actually dealt with this. But you're not going to get any more money. What if I told you that not only that, but what if I told you that no matter how much more time you put in per week, you maybe not only didn't make more money, you made less. What if you came in the next day? He goes, I want you to put in an additional 25 hours this week, but we're going to pay you less than normal. Okay, now even if you're salaried, you're like, yo, bro, this is not happening. Welcome to the life of a YouTuber. This is literally things that happen. Especially if you look at something like January, where you can put in all the work you want. There's only a certain amount of money to go around. And that is kind of devastating. Imagine for a moment that no matter how much work you put in, you make less money than the normal check you had been seeing all the rest of the year. That is a real thing. What about if we'll see sometimes on YouTube, people's videos don't get pressed by get pushed by the algorithm or whatever, depending on how you want to look at it, right? That I don't even know if there's equivalent to that in the real world. So you do the same work, like you come into work. I actually, some of you probably experienced this. You go to work, you do a great job, you're crushing it, you're doing great things, and no one recognizes it. That's kind of the same thing on YouTube when you don't get a lot of views when you try to do like great content. No one gets to see it. Same thing with that. That sucks, right? I'm sure most of you have done a great job at your work, and your boss or whatever, they don't recognize it. No one sees it. It's like, yeah, like you didn't do it. Same idea. But this directly affects pay. So there's almost no instance where all of this stuff on a content creator side does not affect pay. You can go to work, have a really shitty day, and work really terribly, and you're going to get paid whatever you're supposed to get paid for that time. If you do that in content creation, you get paid less sometimes. On the very rare occasion, you get lucky and you get paid more, but it's mostly less. So the constant running on a treadmill life of a content creator to keep money coming in is a real thing. Some people are really smart and figure out ways to make money passively, and that's the best way to do it. I have a couple of ways, and I'll be real honest. While I am financially comfortable, if I really worked hard at this, if I was really motivated by money, I could have a lot more money now. I totally could. I'm leaving so much money on the table, it's actually kind of embarrassing. But I'm just not motivated by that. I'm motivated by other things, creative endeavors. I'm sharing my story, communicating with my community, all these things. Like, I love all of that. And being a YouTuber content creator allows me to do that. Now, for those of you that want to do this to just get like famous, I remember when I grew up, I wanted to be famous. And then when I realized how much privacy you lose by being famous, I was like, I want to be internet famous. Maybe I just want to have people that know who I am. But I don't want to be too famous because I want to be able to go to the grocery store or whatever and not be bothered. And then I realized internet famous, depending on how internet famous you are, isn't any less than being famous. I'm like, I just kind of want to be known a little bit. And that's more or less where I am. If you look at the tech sphere, The largest tech creators know who I am, even though I don't really post anymore. And I've worked with a lot of them. And a lot of the tech community knows or is aware of me. But a lot of them are not aware of me at all, which is fine by me. Like, I'm cool with that. And I'm in a place now where I just really want a nice, strong community, which I think I actually kind of already have because I've been working on that since 2018. My last podcast is proof of that, where a lot of you showed up and showed out and really propped me up, in a time where I was feeling kind of down. I appreciate that. Like, it feels like all the hard work over the last couple of years came to that. There's been a couple moments like that in my content creation career where you get down on yourself. You're not really sure if this is for you, and like you get stressed. And I've had those moments, and every time my community's been there to lift me up. And that is one of the bonuses of being a content creator, because in your everyday life, you may not have a whole bunch of friends or family that's going to lift you up, or maybe you just don't feel like telling your friends and family because maybe you're embarrassed by it or whatever. And that's why having a YouTube channel or something like this is actually kind of cool. It is a great outlet to let people know what you're kind of facing. And because of the worldwide availability of YouTube, you get to have people from all over the world tell you their stories and sometimes prop you up. And I've gotten a lot of that love over the last couple of weeks, and I thank you very much. And this is one of the other things I didn't mention from like the negative. You also have people from all over the world, people who've never met you and never will meet you, to tell you how terrible you are. That's something that most people don't really ever experience. That random people who you've never met or talked to will hate you, will just absolutely hate you, and will do everything they can to try to make your life miserable. Why? I don't know. These people are miserable themselves, but apparently that's what they do. My advice for that, for anyone getting into this and starting to get their own haters and like, what is this? Why? I haven't said anything bad. I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but these people just hate me, is to ignore it as much as you can and just don't bother or interact with it. I'm sure there's tons of stuff out there, or maybe there isn't. That's one of the nice things about becoming, slowly irrelevant, that I don't have to worry about as many people hating on me, which is great. I love that. But I'm sure there's been some stuff made about me in the past. It's like, oh, this guy doesn't know something. Okay, fine. Who cares? I don't know anything about it because I never went to look for it. I think if you start looking for that stuff, you will find it. And that can really color your experience in a very bad way. And keeping your mental peace is such an important thing in a career like this and in a field like this, that, man, you can lose it all. There are people, unfortunately, content creators that have, killed themselves because of it. That have said, I can't be a part of this world anymore. And that's sad. That makes me sad to think about. And I feel like at the end of the day, we are responsible for so many things. As a content creator, you are a director, you are a talent, you are the producer, you are the writer, you are the marketing department, you are the HR department, you are the financial department. You're all these things all at once. And I know a lot of viewers are like, what? But it's true. You have to be all these things to have a successful channel. But you're also your own psychologist, psychiatrist, or whatever, to make sure that your mental health is hopefully somewhere where it's not falling apart. Because if you add in all the things about the world that already crush us down and make us feel like we're going through it, imagine going through it, but being a public figure where people are constantly picking on you, constantly. No matter what you do, no matter how positive you try to be, people just have some type of problem with you. It just adds on top of that. So yeah, not a great job at times, but also the best job at times. And it's just a really interesting experience. And I'm glad I've had it. I don't regret it at all. It's given me a lot of financial freedom. It's given me some incredibly cool experiences. And it's a lot of times saved me from myself. I think while at times it's also been very depressing depending on what's going on at the time, for me, it's been a net positive. That's not the case for everyone. Think of it like this. If you do a little research online about people that have won the lottery, you'll find that a large portion of people who have won the lottery, it's ruined their lives. It's absolutely ruined their lives. I was shocked to find this out, but if you Google it, you'll be surprised. And I think this is another one of those instances where if content creation is not for everybody, even though just about anyone can do it, it's not for everybody as like a full-time thing. It's something to just do on the side and have fun with. I think anyone should do it. Absolutely. But getting into it as like your gig, man, you sacrifice so much stuff. And if you have a family, you might be sacrificing some of that as well. So I don't recommend it for everybody, but it is a really cool thing. And because I've done all this stuff with this channel and I built this tech YouTube channel, which I'm now trying to turn it, I guess, into a podcast channel or something, I have no idea. I now have the ability to speak to you, something I wouldn't have been able to do if I just randomly threw this up on the internet. I mean, no one would have probably ever seen it. And I'm just really grateful for the people that do watch these videos and listen to my podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Spotify, or listening to the audio podcast, whatever, wherever you're taking this in, I thank you. Because what an incredibly cool journey this has been. Not always all the ups, but man, I have had so much fun, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's been a part of my journey. If any of y'all are thinking about doing it, I mean, give it a shot, see what you think. But just know it's not all rainbows and unicorn farts. There's a little bit of crap in there as well. So anyway, hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you're listening on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you like. If you're listening on any of the audio podcast thing, leave me a good review. I know Apple Podcasts has that, and that would be very helpful for the MCP cast. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys and gals on the next one. And if you're here on YouTube, listen to one of the previous episodes. Appreciate you.